Get your rose?
Yep, I'm in now.
Okay. Okay, here we go. My father was born in 1919. He was a child of divorced parents, something that was unheard of in his day. He never knew his father, and he once told me that that was why, when my sister and I were born, he made up his mind that he would just do everything he could think of and hope that a few of those things were right. Well, my father died in 1973, but I had him as parent, teacher, and friend for 23 years. And the legacy he left me of advice and wisdom remains with me today and still influences me. The first of the life lessons Daddy taught me was about faith. My father had an incredibly strong faith in God. He was raised to be a devout Roman Catholic by his French Canadian mother, but he had what's called a crisis of faith when he was in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He couldn't understand why he was required to approach God only through a priest, when the only priest he had access to at the time was a Navy chaplain who could have cared less about my father or his confessions. After much soul searching, during which time my father lost 20 pounds, and following conversations with my mother's Presbyterian minister, since my parents had started seeing each other at that time, my father ultimately chose to become a Protestant. Since he chose his faith rather than inheriting it, he knew exactly what he believed and why, and he taught it to me. When I started to grow up and began to reach the point where I questioned, is there really a God? My father drew on all the sources he could think of to help me. I still have, handwritten in the back of my Bible, St. Thomas Aquinas' 5 proofs for the existence of God. These are often named as follows: argument from motion, argument from efficient cause, argument from necessary being, argument from gradations of goodness, and argument from design. My father reached all the way back to his Catholic upbringing and education to give me these proofs. They spoke to the logical side of my brain, and they helped. Now, the second lesson Daddy taught me was about people. In my teens, I was very shy and extremely self-conscious. The advice my father gave me then was the oddest, but perhaps the most practical advice that I've ever been given. He said, don't think people are always looking at you and judging you. He said, that's a form of being self-centered. He said, people actually have a lot more to think about than just sit around and think about you all day. Well, that's actually a very sound psychological principle. BetterHelp's text, Becoming Less Self-Conscious, states it in almost the same exact terms. It says, since people are often focused on themselves, they might not be focused on scrutinizing you as closely as you may think. Well, my father thought it up all on his own. And the third and last lesson I'll share with you has been perhaps the most valuable and long-lasting gift my father gave me. It was when I became a young adult. I was still very unsure of myself, and I hesitated to take chances in my life. The Weber State University article on self-esteem states, low self-esteem makes it difficult to make decisions. Lacking confidence, you tend to avoid taking risks because you fear failure. Well, my father never ceased to tell me I could do anything in this life. He said that I was special. He knew it. And he said that one day I would blossom and everyone else would know it too. He was certain of that. This unwavering love, support, and encouragement and faith my father had in me made it possible for me to make the decisions I dared to make back then and that I'm still making even today. There are many other stories and gems I could give you, but time won't permit. So let me just say that these 3 life lessons my father taught me about faith, people, and my own capabilities have remained with me to this day. I hope I've given you some insight into the type of man my father was, and maybe a little something to think about in your own lives too. For someone who had no role model to teach him how to be a father, my dad did a bang-up job on his own. Thank you.